Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of my Dungeon Boss Tactical series. Today we are going to be taking a look at how to properly use the Dwarf team. So now that we got an epic on Dagran, we are going to look at the viability of a all Dwarf team and see how things go with that. So first things we need to consider are basically the passives and the synergies. I guess when you're looking at any given team, we always want to look at these things here. So starting out, let's start with the man, the myth, the legend, who is Dagran Blacksmoke. He's going to be the key component into this new team now that he's got his epic and had a little bit of rework. So his stats. First up, Caster Spirit. He's had that all along, 25% attack for caster allies. Vampiric he's always had. Dwarven Heart, we're going to increase health by 40% for Dwarven allies. That is a big deal for building a Dwarf team because it gives quite a boost to health. And then this next one here, if he's paired with High King Velkan, heals for 15% every single turn. So when we build our Dwarf team, we pretty much have to have Dagran, we pretty much have to have Velkan. Those are going to be the two key components. That would be like having an undead team without Yorick and without Zom. It just doesn't work. You got to have two key components there. So in order to maximize this, besides these two, there's only 3 other dwarves we can use, or 4 other dwarves maybe. But based on this piece here, Caster Spirit 2, we happen to have a caster dwarf. His name is Mr. Theron Fiddle Strum. Never really understood why he's a caster, but he is a caster. So we want to bring him onto our team because he gets 25% bonus to attack. That is pretty huge. A 25% increase in attack for anybody is pretty impressive. The only downside to Theron is he doesn't really have any synergies himself. He's got all this armor hunter stuff and armored resistance and armor piercer, but he doesn't actually have anything else that's overly special. He doesn't synergize with anybody else other than that caster buff. Let's backtrack and look at Velkan here just to see what he offers. Velkan gives this lead by example, which is going to be to inspire a basic attack, which we want. Basically, it's possibility for an extra attack every now and then, which is always good when you're running dungeons. And then the Dwarven Fervor, increase attack and defense for all dwarf allies. So this is going to be another huge one for building a dwarf team because it basically buffs everybody. So with the 3 of them chosen, we have Dagran, Velkan, and Theron. We need a 4th. Who you want to go with a 4th is really up to you. I would say normally pick your strongest remaining dwarf. A lot of people are using Rogar now because he has an epic. So if you level up that epic, he can actually be pretty tough. I've seen some Rogars with over 5,000 attack, which is pretty impressive. I see a lot of people that like to use Dagon because he's electrified. Personally, though, I haven't used him very much at all, so I don't have him leveled up. So my goal here is, because I've never really given him a fair shake, I'm actually going to use Hagrim. And there's another reason that I'm going to use Hagrim instead of Rogar or Dagon. And remember, I was talking about synergies and what's going to be the best possible options for a synergetic appeal. He's got this little thing here, Vengeful Dwarf. So in the event that somebody on my team actually does die, it's going to make Hagrim stronger. Dagon and Rogar don't have anything like that, so this, I feel, gives the team a little bit of an advantage. When I start running dungeons, I am going to take some revive potions because I feel like if they do die, this hero will make him stronger, but we ultimately have to bring back those other guys. So the real question is now, when we build this team, what do we actually have and what are we trying to do as far as runes go? So if we start up at the top, again with Dagran, my Dagran has always been ruined for health and defense because I've run him on some farming teams to basically buff Cobalt. And I didn't want him getting poached by just stray attacks, so I've raised his health and his defense. So health, health, dodge, defense, defense, light resist. A little bit of an attack there, but still some more health, health, dark, and damage reduction. And then defense, health, defense. So what does this amount to when we look at his stats here? Moderate attack, moderate defense, don't care about skill, but a massive health pool. As far as a healer goes, a good health pool is going to be beneficial. Now, keep in mind the defense. We're going to get a 20% buff to defense in addition to what we got here. So it's actually, if we take it with the 7% that I have in this epic right now, it's basically a 25% increase. So if we increase this, his base is 1660, so about 2000, 2170, 2370, 2380, 2390, 2400 before the bonus, and then an extra 25% is going to be another 6, so that's going to put his defense at about 3000, which is pretty good. I don't care about his attack, so let's not worry about that. Next up is Senor Velkan, the High King. There's a lot of debate on how you want to ruin Velkan. I've run both ways. I love high attack Velkan. I used to love doing this back when Zen, before he was nerfed. I would use Zen Velkan in PvP, and Velkan would just obliterate people because he always hits. Since then, I've since re-ruined him and gone with a more balanced approach. So we have 3700, 3200 defense. The reason I went more with defense is for his auto-run team when I run Lava Academy. So he was the only one that was ever really dying because I had him all jacked out towards attack and nothing towards defense or health. So I just threw some stuff on here. This is crit chance, nothing really special there. Bulwark, always love that. Attack damage, attack is good. Skill, health, a little bit of both, nothing really that great. It's an improved. There's obviously improvement for runes on this guy here. And then a vampiric, which is attack, skill, health, and some lifesteal as well. Not really superstar runes on him, but let's not get into that right now. Next up, we're going to look at Theron Fiddle Strum. We want to build ourselves the absolute most beast mode glass cannon we have, because when all's said and done, he's going to get a 45% boost to attack. So the higher we get that attack stat, the more deadly he's going to be. And he's got 2 AoE attacks, which is really nice. So his attack is pretty weak to start with, 1787. Goal, we'd probably want to get that up over 3000 if we could. So I'm going to put basically the best of what I have on here. If you want to fast forward at this point, you can. But I'm going to take a look at what I got. I know I don't have a ton of decent stuff. I'm looking for ultimately damage, which on these blue runes, that's pretty tough to come by. So what I'm going to do, I'll just throw these defensive ones on to start with. I'm not going to worry about trying to find a nice precision rune. Those are tough to come by as far as getting attack-based precision runes, so I'm not going to worry about that. As far as his attack rune here, I'm going to put this attack one on here, this insight rune that I made. There's some better ones, but I don't have a ton of really good battle runes. Actually, this one's probably better. Attack, attack, and crit, so this is going to be 400, 500 attack. That'll be nice, even though it's a greater. And then focus, we have skill, elusive, resist, crit damage. Probably not going to find a lot of great attack ones here either. So I'm just going to put this precision one on here. It gives me an extra 2% damage. Better than nothing. I'm not going to get anywhere near the 3000 mark though, I don't think. Alright, so then we'll put on, if we have a power rune, I would like to put that on there. Attack, health and skill. Greater power, attack, crit, attack. It gives me 300 some attack. I'm sure I can find better than that. This one's got 336. I'm just going to put this vampiric on it because it's got some lifesteal as well as some health. So if you really truly want to build a powerhouse dwarf team, you may have to do some rune crafting or shift some runes around. If I would have taken the runes that I had on Cobalt and put them on here, maybe I could have gotten him a lot higher. He's got an attack of 2,600, so I didn't get it up to 3,000, but quick calculation, 2634 times 40% is going to bump his attack to 3688. So he didn't quite hit that 4,000 threshold, which I'd like to. I would love it if we could actually get him up to like the 4,000, 4,500 range, because anyone that's familiar with the Cobalt, that's kind of his minimum threshold for just destroying stuff. But in this case here, we got a decent defense. We're going to be pretty much all right there. His health pool, 5290. We're going to get an extra 20% there. So 5293 times 20% is going to get us up to a little over 6,000, which is reasonable. So we have the makings of our dwarf team now. I just got to put some quick runes on Hagrim. I'm just going to put basically the best of what I have left over. I'm not even going to really try too much. If you want to focus your runes a little bit more on Hagrim, I would try for balance for him as well, but definitely attack as well. So his attack is pretty weak to start with, just like Theron's was. So battle rune, attack, skill, attack, that's looking pretty good. And then a greater power rune, attack, damage, and skill. I'll take that. Water, we'll throw that precision rune on there. Does have some attack on there. And then we'll put a bulwark. It's got fire resist and spirit resist. I'll just throw it on there anyways. I don't really care too much. And then attack, skill, crit. We'll throw this battle rune on there. And then we'll put a blessing of Seeker since we didn't have that on here. Alright, so where he starts on 2,900, he's going to get a 20% bonus. So 2,904 times 20%. Going to bump him up to almost 3,500. It's going to be 3,485, which would be pretty decent attack. Defense, 1956 and 20% there. Gives him 2,347, which is manageable. And his max health is going to be 40% extra, so 5,125 times 40%, 7,075, so decent, or 7,175 rather. So decent, should have some reasonable survivability. The other nice thing about the dwarves is they're armored, so they're going to take less physical damage. They might get eaten up by casters, but that's kind of the risk you run. Alright, so we've added some runes, we've picked our dwarf team, and so now basically we're just curious, how decent is this team? So we went over their basic stats. If you have questions on what they were, you'll have to rewind the video and go back to listen to what they were exactly. I wasn't going to jot them all down, but if demand warrants it, I can put those in the description afterwards. But because everybody's runes are going to vary, I don't want you to get in any incorrect ideas. But basically, my thought is to take your most powerful attack type runes and put them on Theron and see if you can get his attack up to the 4,000 or 5,000 range. Might be tough to do with those dual water runes because you can't really get too much attack out of those. So do the best you can there. All right, so in order to benchmark this, let's look at our team. We have a dark, 2 water, and 1 nature. So how can we prove or disprove if this is actually a good team? So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to run this against the current Boss Island dungeon. So we'll run this against Savage Grove. The reason I'm picking Savage Grove is because it's going to give us an elemental disadvantage. So if we can persevere even against the elemental disadvantage, their green versus our blue, then I would say it's probably a pretty good team. If we just went into a red dungeon, for example, and just froze the hell out of everybody. Alrighty, so let's pick the actual order here. I'm not really sure the order I want to go, other than I always like Velkan as a leadoff. I don't know why, but I do. So I'm going to go Velkan, and then I'm going to go with Theron. And then I'm going to go with Hagrim, and then I'll round it out with Dagran. Now, they're all receiving temporary buffs now because of the Dagran feature, so it's possible that this might be a little bit skewed, but overall, that's another reason I'm picking a elementally disadvantaged dungeon, because I'm not going to get crits out of Velkan or out of Theron. So if I can make it through the dungeon with just these guys doing regular basic attacks, should be a pretty good indicator. So obviously we're not doing a auto run here, so we're going to have to slow play it, use some basic tactics, and make sure we play things smartly. We don't have a dwarf tank, so anybody's fair game for getting hit. We're basically relying on their armor to save them. Theron should be good as far as debuffs go because he's got a ranged attack, so he shouldn't be getting hit by too much poison skin or anything like that. Alright, we'll start off with, like we always do. I don't know if these guys can be frozen, but Velkan hit him pretty good even without elements. No freezing though. Alright, so let's kill that guy first. Now, as far as Savage Grove goes, if you've spent any time in Savage Grove, there's really only one guy that I'm worried about, and that's these green Titanish type guys. They're Stonefist wannabes. When I run my Goblin team in auto run, those guys are the biggest pain in the ass, and they're always the ones that tend to do the most damage. So if I can attack and hopefully get an Inspire, which I did, get a little bit extra damage, and you can just see that Theron does a ton of damage because actually I can't tell if he's armored. Doesn't really say. That's the armored. So the Titan guy isn't armored, so Theron's doing good damage even without the armor. I feel like I'm going to be able to kill him, so I'm actually going to try and daze the caster. It seems like he's going to be the biggest one if he's going to throw the mass poison. Armor Hunter on those two little guys just absolutely destroyed them, so I love that. Hagrim finished the job. So far things look pretty good. Haven't really had to use anything as far as skills other than that opening one. Velkan has really great energy expenditure, so his main attack or his main AoE is going to be up all the time. These little guys here do a lot with their little metal bite attacks, so I tend to target them first as well. Alright, so we will do a kill here, and then we'll do an actual attack. We'll see how this buzzsaw goes here. 7,000, that is quite the hit. Alright, so I'm going to save the Dwarven Smackdown. I want to use this on the first boss room because I want to get as many hits in as possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to energize Theron because he's got some basically caster type cooldowns. It's really rough some days. Alright, this will probably be on cooldown in the middle of the boss room, so that'll come up nicely. And he just deals a ton of damage, so I actually didn't need to even really do that probably. Alright. Let's see how these guys go. I probably should have just saved that artillery shot, being that there are so many guys in here, but we're going to use Theron and see how he goes. So we're going to do this one here, buff allies attack and crit. And then we're going to do that with Theron. So this is a ranged physical attack. It's going to lower their defense, which is always good. And it hits everybody. So, moderately underwhelming, if I have to say so. Let's jackhammer this guy. Oh yeah, he did not stand much of a chance there. Massive damage on him. Alright, and then let's inspire an attack on this guy here. There's one. He's dead now. And it looks like it's only an attack on that individual target. So had the main caster boss been tougher, then I could have used it on him. Alright, so let's do... I don't want to use this attack here. Even though it's a double attack, I want to make sure my artillery's up. I like to keep that one on deck. So we'll attack this guy. I am going to have to heal with Dagrand. And I don't think I'm going to get to, actually. Nope. I want to use the Dwarven EMT on Theron, which I think out of all of your team, I think Theron is the only one who warrants the Dwarven EMT, because you want to increase his health as much as possible, because he probably is going to be one of the weaker ones. So if you can use Dwarven EMT, try and use it for Theron, unless you really truly do need it to heal. And we're going to run into an instance again where I feel like I'm not even going to be able to get a heal off because he's dominating so much. So we're probably going to have to pick a harder dungeon to benchmark this one. Like I said, even with the elemental disadvantage on Velkan and Theron, they're both doing really well. Plus Hagrim, I've never really given him much credit, but he really took it to that caster boss, so that was pretty impressive there. Alright, first basic attack here. Theron's going to have an AoE up, so I'll just try and take out one of these guys here since he's not armored. I know Theron is going to kill the guy on the bottom. One guy dazed, so we just killed a little Manglejaw wannabe. Fun fact, they haven't switched these guys over to being monsters like they did with Manglejaw. But that's neither here nor there. Alright, so we'll just kill him with a basic attack. Don't even need to do anything special. And then, who do we want to energize? You should always energize when it's up. I'll do that to Theron as well, just so he can get his grenade thing. And he's dead. And so then what I'm going to do is... I ultimately want to use Hagrim, his third ability, so that he doesn't drop below 1 health. I don't know that it's even going to be necessary. I mean, nothing's really posed a threat here. These guys are all just kind of dying. I'm going to use that Dwarven bash, the smackdown. I'm going to use that on the main boss here. Alright, typical boss fight mechanics. Buff, attack, and crit. Can't go wrong with that. We will then use our helmet missiles. The difference between these, they're still both physical. I'm not going to get any crits, so I'm just going to hit everybody. Reasonable. And then just for fun, we're going to use Dwarven Fury here, because I don't feel like I'm going to get to use it again otherwise. And there's that. Yeah, Hagrim. 10,000 and 5,000 damage. That's pretty awesome. So this is where things could go south. If they all wanted to attack Theron, they probably could kill him. I didn't get a revenge out of Hagrim, which I thought I would. Alright, let's see who we want to attack. Attack one of these big guys here. Double attack, he's dead. Our little mug attack, he's dead. Jackhammer, he's going to be dead. And that just leaves, we could either try for an epic attack or we can heal. Honestly, I have revive potions, so I don't really care. And we've already seen the success of this dungeon, so let's hope for an epic attack, see if we can kill him. Which it didn't do it. and we still survived anyways. So let's unleash the wolves on this guy, and that'll wrap up this dungeon here. And he's dead. So if we ran this against an elementally neutral dungeon, like a dark dungeon, would it fare any better? Maybe, maybe not. A light dungeon, probably we would do pretty well. The only reason I say that versus the dark dungeon is if you get diseased, it's going to not only negate your crit, but it's going to lower your attack as well. In this case here, we just didn't get any crit attacks. Now, if we had some crit attacks out of Theron and Velkan, we probably would see some huge damage points. We did see some really nice things out of Hagrim, which makes me think that he's going to be a big component of this team as well. So based on this here, you can make your own judgments if you think the Dwarf team has merit. I feel like it's going to be very viable at lower levels. Obviously, I went through a boss mode or a boss island dungeon. If you'd like me to run through one of the actual boss mode stages, we could certainly test that. I would just need to pick one out that I think would be suitable for a benchmark test. So with that said, that's going to wrap up this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, as always, thanks for watching, and stop by again.